Jungkook spent the entire day trying not to think about it. Trying not to see the way Taehyung had laughed, how easily his hand had rested on that man's arm. How he had smirked, when he caught Jungkook looking. It was childish. It was calculated. And it was working. By the time the day ended, Jungkook had barely gotten any work done, his mind spiraling into places he didn't want to go. He should just go home. He should ignore Taehyung. But instead, he found himself standing outside Taehyung's office, knocking on the door before he could talk himself out of it. Taehyung's office. Taehyung glanced up, smirking the moment he saw who it was. Jungkook, he purred, leaning back in his chair. To what do I owe the pleasure? Jungkook ignored the way his heart stuttered at the nickname. Instead, he stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. Taehyung raised an eyebrow. Oh! Closing the door? Scandalous! Jungkook clenched his jaw. Cut the crap! Taehyung tilted his head. What crap? Jungkook inhaled sharply. That guy? Taehyung's lips curled. What about him? Jungkook's fists tightened. Who is he? Taehyung blinked. Then, slowly, infuriatingly, his smirk deepened. Why? He mused. Are you jealous? Jungkook scoffed. Don't flatter yourself. Taehyung stood, taking slow, deliberate steps toward him. Jungkook didn't move. Didn't step back. But when Taehyung stopped just in front of him, his warmth seeping into Jungkook's space, it took everything in Jungkook not to react. Taehyung's voice was soft when he spoke. He's a business associate. Jungkook swallowed. Taehyung leaned in slightly. But if I wanted to flirt with him, his lips brushed against Jungkook's ear. Would it bother you? Jungkook exhaled sharply, his fingers twitching at his sides. He should say no. He should step away. But instead, his hand shot out, gripping Taehyung's wrist. Hard. Taehyung stilled. Jungkook's voice was low, rough. Try me. Taehyung's breath hitched. For the first time, his smirk wavered. And Jungkook knew. This game? Taehyung wasn't the only one playing anymore. Taehyung had expected Jungkook to walk away, to grit his teeth, throw out some sharp remark, and leave like he always did. But this? The way Jungkook was holding his wrist, firm and unyielding? The way his eyes burned into Taehyung's like a warning? This was new. And Taehyung, he liked it. More than he should. Still, he couldn't let Jungkook know that. So, he tilted his head, his smirk returning like it had never faltered. Careful, baby, he murmured, eyes glinting. You almost sound like you care. Jungkook's jaw ticked. I don't, but his grip tightened. Taehyung inhaled, his pulse quickening. Liar. Jungkook's thumb brushed against his skin, barely there but enough to make Taehyung shiver. Jungkook noticed. His lips parted slightly, eyes flickering down. And for a moment, just a moment, Taehyung thought he might do something reckless. Something dangerous. But then, Jungkook let go. Like he'd touched fire and finally realized it burned. The loss of contact sent a jolt of frustration through Taehyung's chest, but he masked it with a chuckle. Interesting, he mused, crossing his arms. You storm in here, demand answers, and then, what? You chicken out. Jungkook exhaled sharply, raking a hand through his hair. This is pointless. Taehyung leaned back against his desk, eyes darkening. That's not what your body just said. Jungkook froze. Taehyung smirked. Checkmate. Or so he thought. Because the next second, Jungkook was stepping closer again. Not hesitant. Not unsure. Just decisive. Until they were almost chest to chest, until Taehyung had to tilt his chin up to meet his gaze. Jungkook's voice was low when he spoke. You think you're in control, don't you? Taehyung swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. Jungkook tilted his head. You think I'm the one losing this game? Taehyung scoffed. Aren't you? Jungkook's lips curled, just slightly, just dangerously. And then, he leaned in. Close. Too close. But he didn't touch. Didn't kiss. Didn't break first. Instead, his breath coasted over Taehyung's lips as he whispered, Then why am I the one making you nervous? Taehyung inhaled sharply. The moment he slipped, Taehyung never got nervous. Not with business deals. Not with negotiations. And definitely not with Jungkook. But right now, with Jungkook so close, his breath teasing against his lips, his voice low and taunting, Taehyung felt something unsettling tighten in his chest. He hated it. So he did what he always did. He smirked. I'm not nervous, Jungkook hummed, eyes scanning his face like he could see right through the lie. Oh, he mused. Then why aren't you pushing me away? Taehyung stiffened. He should. He should shove Jungkook back, roll his eyes, and laugh in his face. That was the smart thing to do. The safe thing to do. But he didn't. And Jungkook knew it. His smirk deepened. What's wrong? Taehyung? Jungkook murmured, tilting his head. Can't handle your own game? Taehyung clenched his jaw. He needed to regain control. Now. So he lifted his hand, slow, deliberate, and traced a finger down Jungkook's chest. Jungkook didn't react. Didn't step back. Didn't do anything but watch him with dark, unreadable eyes. Taehyung swallowed, his own breath uneven. Damn it. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be winning. Instead, he was cute, Jungkook muttered. Taehyung blinked. What? Jungkook chuckled. The sound was low, deep, infuriating. You're trying too hard, Jungkook said, leaning in just enough for Taehyung to feel the heat of him. Trying to act unaffected, Taehyung's stomach flipped. Jungkook's eyes flickered to his lips, just for a second. And then, he stepped back. Like he was the one in control. Like he was the one pulling away first. Taehyung inhaled sharply, watching as Jungkook smirked and turned toward the door. Oh, Jungkook did, pausing at the threshold. That guy from earlier? Taehyung tensed. Jungkook glanced over his shoulder, eyes gleaming. Next time, pick someone more believable, and then, he left. Leaving Taehyung standing there, stunned, frustrated, and completely thrown off his game. Taehyung hated losing. Hated the way Jungkook walked out of his office like he had won. Hated the way his pulse was still erratic, his skin still tingling from Jungkook's proximity. Hated the fact that, for the first time, he was the one thrown off balance. Taehyung exhaled sharply, gripping the edge of his desk. No. This wasn't over. Jungkook thought he could turn the game around. Fine. Let him think that. Taehyung would show him who was really in control. He grabbed his phone, fingers hovering over Jungkook's chat. But he hesitated. Because what would he even say? That he wanted Jungkook to come back? That he liked the way Jungkook had looked at him, touched him, taunted him? No. Absolutely not. Instead, he did something worse. Something reckless. He called Jimin. Hey, I need a favor, he said the moment his friend picked up. Jimin groaned. Why do I feel like I'm about to be dragged into some mess? Taehyung smirked. Because you're Jungkook's apartment. Midnight. Jungkook had convinced himself that he wouldn't check his phone. That he wouldn't care. That whatever Taehyung did next was his problem. Of Jungkook's. But then, his screen lit up. A message. From Jimin. Jungkook frowned, opening it immediately. Jimin, just thought you should know, Taehyung is out tonight. Jungkook stared. So? Why the hell was Jimin telling him this? But then another message came. Jimin, with someone else. Jungkook's grip on his phone tightened. The air in his apartment suddenly felt thick. Jungkook knew what this was. Knew exactly what Taehyung was doing. Trying to get a reaction. Trying to bait him. And Jungkook wasn't going to fall for it. He wasn't. But then, Jimin sent a photo. Taehyung, dressed in all black, seated in a dimly lit lounge. His smile, slow, teasing, dangerous. His hand, resting on another man's thigh. Jungkook's blood ran hot. His jaw clenched. And before he could stop himself, he was grabbing his keys and heading out the door. Chapter 24, Checkmate? Jungkook had no right to be this angry. He knew it. Knew that Taehyung was playing him. Knew that storming into the lounge was exactly what Taehyung wanted. And yet, here he was. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes locked on him. Taehyung. Leaning back against a plush leather couch, a slow smirk curling his lips. And beside him, some guy. Jungkook didn't even bother remembering his face. Because all he could see was Taehyung's hand resting just above the man's knee. Like a taunt. Like a challenge. Jungkook's jaw tightened as he made his way over, ignoring the way Taehyung's smirk deepened. Ignoring the way his stomach twisted when Taehyung didn't move his hand away. Jungkook, Taehyung drawled, tilting his head. What a coincidence. Jungkook ignored him, eyes flicking to the man beside him. Leave, the guy blinked. Excuse me, Jungkook's patience snapped. I said, he repeated, voice low, dangerous, leave. The man glanced at Taehyung, as if waiting for a confirmation. Taehyung chuckled, swirling the drink in his glass. Stay, he murmured, eyes locked on Jungkook. Jungkook exhaled sharply, grip tightening at his sides. A beat of silence. And then, the man made the smartest decision of his life. He got up and walked away. Jungkook took his seat. Right where the guy had been. And Taehyung? He just laughed. Well, he mused, sipping his drink, that was rude. Jungkook leaned in, close enough to catch the faintest whiff of cologne. Close enough to see the amusement in Taehyung's eyes. You think this is funny? Jungkook asked, voice low. Taehyung raised a brow. Isn't it? Jungkook's fingers twitched against the table. He wasn't sure what pissed him off more. The fact that Taehyung had baited him so easily, or the fact that he knew it. Taehyung set his drink down, tilting his head. What, he mused, voice laced with mock innocence. Jealous? Jungkook didn't answer. Didn't want to. Because if he did, he might just say something he couldn't take back. And Taehyung? He was waiting for that. So instead, Jungkook smirked. No, he said smoothly, leaning back. I just don't like when people touch my things. Taehyung's breath hitched. It was subtle. Barely there. But Jungkook caught it. And just like that, the game had shifted again.